Hey everybody, my name is Paul Esden Jr., aka Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com, and we're here on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoyGreen25. We've got a very special guest joining us. The first round is in the books. Night one is in the books, and now it's time to talk about who the second overall pick in the draft was. That was Zach Wilson out of BYU. We've got, again, a very special guest joining us. That is Jarom Jordan of BYU TV at BYU Football Insider, taking the time to join us. Jarom, thanks for taking the time, man.
Absolutely, Paul. We're stoked that Zach went second, and that he's going to be with the Jets. And it feels like this is a new look, new feel Jets, which is super exciting. I know for Zach and for the fan base. So we're hoping it works out for everybody.
Well, let me ask you, and we were kind of talking a little bit about it off air before coming on here. It's got to be a little weird, so Zach Wilson's the pick. That's something we've been expecting for months. So, what were the emotions from the Zach Wilson camp when it officially happened? Were they somewhat reserved, like, oh yes, of course, I'm here on the Jets, or was it, oh my God, it's actually real, it's actually happening here?
It was the last one there. Which, listen, we've known it was going to be the Jets for a while. It feels like, and but the reality of the situation was, oh my gosh, Zach just went to the Jets. Initially it's kind of the number. It's like, whoa, second pick. And then, of course, it's like, all right, it's with the Jets. Let's go, baby. I know they were stoked. In fact, I talked last night to offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick from BYU about that moment. And he said, listen, Zach showed some emotion that he doesn't always show. I think he got choked up a little bit where it was like, oh my gosh, like this really happened. And that culminating moment in his life was awesome. And he had a nice party. You can kind of tell, who someone parties with tells a lot about them. So let's talk about who was in Zach's party, okay? Obviously, his family. He's one of 6 kids, oldest kids, a daughter, a dancer. All the boys are athletic. In fact, his younger brother, Josh, plays a BYU linebacker. Got some other brothers, linebacker, and then a quarterback as well who are, playing. Dad, of course, played at Utah. And then he had John Beck, who's a former BYU quarterback, and his quarterback coach in Southern California, a 3D QB. He had Kalani Sitake, the head coach of BYU, Aaron Roderick, the offensive coordinator, the wide receiver, Fesi Sitake, and then his high school coach, Eric Kerr. So he had a nice group there, and it was a party for those guys. It was a party.
Oh, that's good. Again, Zach Wilson, of course. And you mentioned it. You guys have mentioned it on Twitter, and they've mentioned, of course, on the broadcast. Zach Wilson is the highest drafted player in BYU football history. And for folks who don't know, there is quite a rich history with not only just players like Ezekiel Ansah, but also on the quarterback side of things, of some pretty good guys. What, from all your conversations, and Jarom, for people who don't know, you basically interviewed Zach Wilson every step of the way here several times on BYU TV. So, I guess my question is, what makes you believe that he can live up to the hype of all of those other guys, that he was the highest drafted of all of them? Of course, he doesn't get to pick where he was drafted, but there's obviously a lot of pressure on him to live up to the billing, not only for the Jets, but for himself at an established university, obviously like BYU.
Yeah, so 2 parts there. Let's address the highest pick thing. So in '84, Steve Young would have been the number 1 pick. In fact, he was on our show a week ago, and I said, what pick would you have been if you didn't go to the USFL? And he said, the Bengals told me they were going to draft me 1. So he would have been the first pick. So that's that. Obviously, Steve's like a Pro Football Hall of Famer. He's the greatest football player from BYU ever. Everybody loves and knows Steve. But then you go to 5, and that's Jim McMahon in '82, and that's Ziggy Ansah, in 2013. Which, by the way, 2 top 5 picks from BYU last 9 drafts. Not bad, right?
Yeah.
Looking at you, Utah. They produce a lot more picks than BYU, but we'll take the top 5. So there's that. Okay, living up to the hype. Listen, it's gonna be hard to live up to the hype of a number 2 pick. It just is. But a guy like Zach Wilson, it's not going to be for a lack of effort and skill set. So he can, as everyone knows, he can make all the throws. He can go off platform, arm angles. The best analogy I've heard is he's more of a shortstop than a pitcher at quarterback. Meaning he can 4-6-3 double play. You got to do this, as opposed to the traditional strong-armed guy, right? Like 6'2", 215, super athletic, like underrated athleticism. Dude is shaky in the field, in his ability to not only create a good throw, he can stand in the pocket, he can get out of the pocket. Like, this year was one of the funnest years of watching football I've ever had in my life, because we could watch Zach's development and his ascension. And frankly, a guy like Andre Ware, Zach's freshman year, was going, this guy's an NFL quarterback. And we were like, oh, that's cool. We didn't think like top 5. A guy like Jake Heaps, who actually had a cup of coffee with the Jets on the practice squad a few years ago out of BYU, and then he transferred to Kansas and Miami. He was saying the same thing. And Jake is under the Russell Wilson quarterback training, kind of system there. And I'm like, hey, these guys think he's like good, like first round good. And I'm like, what am I missing? What am I missing? His freshman year, he starts the last 6 games takes over for a senior who was inept, and shows some flashes. The bowl game goes 18 of 18. I was like, wow. I actually talked to Zach one time off camera, and he actually didn't have complete vision in the second half. Like stuff was a little blurry from a hard hit in the first half. I'm not saying he had a concussion. That's not what I'm saying. But like he was like, I wasn't 100%. But I was like, well, how do you complete every pass then? That kind of accuracy is pretty interesting. Then his sophomore year, he has off-season shoulder surgery on his throwing shoulder, the labrum. It's good now. I know some Jets fans have been like, no. Trust me. That was like 2 years ago. Then he breaks his thumb in the middle of the season, so he wasn't 100%, but he still beat USC at home. He still won at Tennessee. Okay, those are some nice wins, right?
Yeah.
And then he finishes that year. He misses. BYU's up at Hawaii in the Hawaii Bowl, the home game for the bowl game. I'm on the sideline. I'm parallel with the line of scrimmage. He misses it's like 3rd and 2, and BYU's down to its 3rd or 4th string running back. They don't run the ball. They have Zach, on a quick out to a guy named Micah Simon, who just signed a free agent deal with the Panthers. He throws it short into the dirt, and it was like, Zach missed this like easy throw that would have just sealed the win. And BYU punts. Hawaii comes down, wins the game. It's really disappointing. The juxtaposition of that moment of the disappointing throw to put that work in the offseason. And I asked Zach about that specific throw. Like, that was your last throw of your sophomore year. And then to have the junior year you had, like, did that mean something? And he was like, yes, absolutely. Like, I wanted to put in the work. I was mad. He said, I was angry about how that ended. So he's going to be angry when things don't go well, to the point where he's going to work so hard. He's going to do his best to lead the team by being ready and prepared and to lead the group. And so the Jets are getting a fantastic dude that's going to work crazy hard. Yes, he looks like he's 12. Yes, he looks like every 1980s punk in a high school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, yes, he comes from some money, but there have been all the Mannings came from money. Come on. Like, he still has an incredible work ethic, and he is going to be the best quarterback he can be. Does that mean the Jets are going to win the Super Bowl in the next 10 years? I don't know. But hopefully they get to the playoffs and build, and it feels exciting with Saleh on the floor and Douglas and all these guys. So hopefully it works out, man.
Well, playoffs would be nice. They haven't been to that since 2010. So let's crawl before we run. So I'll take some of that. But let me ask you this, and this is something that has been, really thrown around a lot. Utah, New York. How does it not only the football player, the man, the personality. How is he going to handle that from the market perspective? It's just obviously one of the biggest markets on the planet. And then also from the pressure standpoint, again, New York, Big Apple, the Jets have sucked for a long time. They on the Jets side have really done a terrible job of developing quarterbacks. So, I mean, it seems like an unreal amount of pressure, an unreal market. Is Zach Wilson prepared for that kind of thing?
I think he is. And it's hard to completely justify it in anyone's mind. It's like, well, no, that's the reaction that happens. So let me explain just the context of where he's come from, and then you decide whether you think he's ready or not. Let's be honest. Can anyone get ready for it? Like, what could possibly prepare you for the New York media and the pressure of that, right? And he's even joked like, wait, they're in Jersey, right? It's going to be all right. No, he knows. But so BYU, I mean, people have heard of BYU. Everyone's heard of BYU. But BYU's media contingent is actually more like a Power 5 school than a Group 5 school, because in Salt Lake, it's both newspapers, it's several, 4 TV stations, all the radio. I know there's like 1 million in New York, but it's a bigger contingent. And the fact that BYU is tied to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, like, although he's not an active member of the faith, he has a massive spotlight among the members of the church, the Mormons, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, of like it's not everyone's cup of tea. Like if you're Mormon, you don't have to root for BYU, but there are a lot of BYU fans that are Mormon, right? He's the guy. He's the most visible dude playing sports, and the pressure of that is different than if you went to Boise State or frankly even like Washington or Oklahoma State. Like they don't have a religion tied to the quarterback. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think in that sense, that's prepared him a little bit here as well. He's always been sort of, and this may be new territory, Paul, where he's always been sort of a little undervalued, and he's used that as motivation. I think he's valued greatly right now. So it'll be interesting to see. I almost hope he listens to like the Mel Kipers who are like, oh, cupcake schedule, sugar overload, where he's like, oh, okay, interesting. You don't think I can do it? Like he wore a wristband that said, prove them wrong through the 2020 season. And then the headband, of course, made some run any team time place. And BYU wanted to do its best to do the best it could with the schedule last year. 6 Power Fives. It got blown up with the pandemic. BYU was going to play 6 Power Fives. They go out and play whoever, wherever. So can anyone, long answer, but can anyone actually be prepared for the New York media? No, but I think he had a unique situation where he had a religion tied to the football team. No one else really has that besides kind of Notre Dame.
Yeah, no, that's a very astute point. By the way, you and Zach and the whole community is really close. Can you suggest maybe a cupcake schedule band? And might as well throw that one on there on the arm for old Zach.
He's like, yeah, we didn't play anybody. Blah blah blah. I always hate that. I always hate that too. It's like, oh, Justin Fields would have thrown for 5,000 yards on that schedule. It's like, well, Justin Fields wouldn't have the same receivers or O-line either. Like, you know what I would have loved to see? Zach Wilson on Alabama. Because Mac Jones sits back there and can just hand off to Najee Harris or chuck it deep to Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith. That'd be pretty fun too.
Sure. Well, let me ask you this. I don't know if you've answered this question since the Jets have officially made Zach Wilson their quarterback. What is your perspective? What is the BYU perspective? Because, of course, as much as we say, Zach, you got to be the Messiah here for the Jets, what about the BYU saying, hey, look at all these dead bodies basically laying all over the place of all these quarterbacks that have sucked here. And, not all of them have just been because they've sucked. I mean, the Jets, let's be frank, have done a terrible job of whether it's personnel, coaching, or see all of the above for setting up these quarterbacks for success. So what is your guys' perspective on your baby, your prodigy, the highest drafted player in BYU football history, you putting it on a silver platter for the Jets saying, fingers crossed, hope you don't screw this up. What's your guys' feelings on it?
So we've talked about this quite a bit, and it's a great question, right? It's like frankly, I was like, shoot, if he could go to the Niners, that's just a way better situation.
Right.
It just is. Like, they're ready to win. There's a history with Steve Young. There's a history with BYU guys there, Bart Oates, and a bunch of these BYU dudes in the past. Talking to Dennis Pitta, who played for the Ravens for several years, on Monday, he was the co-host on the show with me actually, and we chatted. And I said, okay, what's your honest opinion of like the Jets? He goes, hey, they've been a dumpster fire. It's going to be a challenge. It's an uphill grind, And he said it's going to be hard. He said I got to know Joe Douglas, who was a scout with the Ravens, so I like him a lot. Obviously won the Super Bowl with the Eagles, so that's great. And he said, hopefully they can turn it around. John Beck, who drafted by the Dolphins in the NFL for a while with Washington and Baltimore, he is very high on what could happen because it's the Shanahan influence on Mike LaFleur over here, right, with the Jets now. I've jokingly called the Jets the fat-free Niners, bringing in Robert Saleh and Mike LaFleur and company, right?
Yeah.
And I'm hoping it's a new day, obviously, for the Jets. We don't want Zach to fail and everyone to call him a bust or whatever. Absolutely not, right? But yeah, the hope is, okay, can this offensive line, how do you say it, by the way? Mekhi Becton?
Mackay.
Okay, Mekhi Becton's legit, right? And then Elijah Vera Tucker, I was like, okay, they're investing.
Yeah.
Draft equity this direction. Hopefully they can turn it around. Obviously, what Robert Saleh did with the Niners was notable. BYU fans like Robert Saleh because Fred Warner from BYU is the middle linebacker there. So there's a connection. And it'd be awesome. it'd be awesome. There have been 4 other BYU players who have played for the Jets before. Most recently, we had Harvey Longy and on the practice squad, Corbin Kafusi and Bronson Kafusi. So BYU fans have been paying attention to the Jets. But yeah, like hopefully it works out, man. Like I'm a Seahawks guy personally, but I'm like, listen, my other green is that green of the Jets. Like, let's get that going. Yeah.
Again, with Sugar, Jarom Jordan here, a BYU Football Insider on the show, and you're intimately familiar with Zach Wilson. Jet fans right now are starving for info. They've been watching videos. They've been doing all kinds of things. Give us more. Who is Zach Wilson, and what's something Jet fans should know about him if they're just learning about him now officially, now that he's a member of the New York Jets?
He is unbelievable. Like, his competitive advantage, and I've asked him this, what do you do better than anybody else? He said, film. I know what's going to happen because I watch a ton of film. So he's almost excessive. Like, I'm almost like, do you have any hobbies? And you always want, balance. Balance is overrated. To be great at something, you have to invest a ton in that time, energy. You have to sacrifice other things. He and his dad played college football at Utah. And when Zach was little, while yes, the family came from money, the uncle started JetBlue, and his dad owns some gas stations around that, do really well. While he did do that, he wasn't like this kid that was coming up in all the camps and Elite 11 and blah, blah, blah. His first offer was from an FCS school named Weber State in Utah. And BYU's wide receivers coach was actually the guy there that connected him and eventually got to BYU that way. Wow. He's always worked super hard. And he's always said, listen, I'm going to know what's happening on the field. I learned so much about quarterbacking this year by talking to him. Like, every time we talked to him, I was like, this kid's unbelievable. He's at a professional level with his mind. And then you combine the work that he put in during the pandemic, and it's been documented quite a bit. But if you don't know, he actually drove down to Southern California and would go work with John Beck. Now, John Beck is hanging out with a lot of NFL dudes too. It's not just like random college guys. Like Drew Brees, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, a bunch of these guys go to John Beck and 3D QB. Tom House. You remember that movie with the cricket players who tried to go to the minors that Disney made? Yeah. Tom House was featured in that. He's like a throwing expert, football, baseball, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So this is Tom House's company. Zach drives himself down there. He watches or listens, I guess, while he drives down to The Last Dance. And he learns some lessons from Michael Jordan in this of like, how do I motivate myself? How do I compete at the highest level? He stays at a BYU player's family's house down there, but he doesn't feel like he can just eat the food in their house. He actually, last summer during the pandemic, he actually works for Uber a couple of times, just to earn some money. He buys some gas station food just to make sure he's not a burden on the family. Like, he came from money. Mom and dad could have given him $1,000 spending whatever, but he works hard. He comes off like he kind of looks like a punk, honestly. Again, the 80s, but he's the hardest worker. He's very smart with the playbook, and like that endears his teammates to him, where they say, he's going to make a play. I'm going to make a play with him, So there's a lot of confidence that comes from that. The whole captain thing was weird too. Yeah. So he's in a quarterback battle. They don't name him a captain or any of the quarterbacks because they hadn't declared a starter. It was obvious that Zach was going to be the guy though, but they hadn't named him. It was going to be weird to give him the captaincy if for some reason he didn't win it. He wins it. The second he wins it, they give him the C. And so that whole story has been nonsense. It's like he's asked everybody on the team. They love Zach.
I got to imagine a lot of that's annoying. The cupcake schedule thing for Mel Kiper, I don't know how often you guys get that sort of thing.
Trey Lance didn't? Like, why is Trey Lance not criticized for that? But Zach
he gets to skip that step. That's funny how that works, right? And then
it's weird.
So let's just jump somewhere else here. So pro player comp. I've heard maybe everyone in the book. So we've heard the Mahomes. We've heard Rodgers. I had Charles Davis of the NFL Network. He joined me. He dropped a little Joe Montana, a little Jeff Garcia.
Bro, so you got Charles Davis? Look at you.
Yeah, Charles Davis of the NFL Network. He dropped Joe Montana here on the show a couple weeks back. So, I mean, hey, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Montana, boom. Okay, phenomenal. There it is. What is the right one that you've heard that you're kind of like, okay, I can see it? Or is there one?
Yeah, one I saw, and I'm trying to think who it was. It was with was it the NBC Sports? Someone said, I can't remember who it was. Someone said Derek Carr.
Derek
And
Carr.
I thought, okay, Derek Carr. Now, what we don't want is like a non-flattering comp where it's like, oh, Derek at his best was really good, like a top 10 guy. He had like a top 5 year,
Sure.
not his whole career, but I was like, okay, what if he's a better Derek Carr? Because we always want to come high and then go down low. But it's
Right.
the certain aspects of Mahomes and Rodgers. With Rodgers, to me, it's the throwing motion.
Yes.
Zach's throwing motion is closest to Aaron Rodgers. And where is he going to go? Well, that whole story, holy shnikes. And then with Mahomes, it's arm angles, and just don't need proper footwork to make it happen if there's a rush in your face. And then Montana, he's just very poised. Like he's just, nope, we got to do this. I see this. I make this play. No, isn't there? Okay, over here. Like that, like there's John Candy in the stands in the Super Bowl against the Bengals. Like that whole story, right? Yeah. That's the part of that. So Derek Carr, I was like, listen, there are things with Derek Carr where I could see that. So I don't know what the proper comp is, but he's sort of a new age dude. Like he's not 6'5" from big arm from the big school that's gonna slice through the wind when it's November at the Meadowlands. Like he's not that traditional Ben Roethlisberger type. He's the new age where it's like, you know what he is? He's a way more disciplined, better, like the best version of Baker Mayfield and Johnny Manziel. Wow. Where maybe he's a little small, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like can make a play. He's exciting. He's sort of relatable. He's not going to party like Johnny Manziel. I know
that's
that.
Good to hear. That's good to hear.
Yeah. But like on the field, some combo of Baker and Johnny where it's like, yeah, he's not 6'4", 6'5", he's 6'2". But to me, he's like the athleticism that Johnny showed at Texas A&M. Like Zach has that, but he's super smart about it. Like he against Northern Illinois, his freshman year, BYU didn't produce a ton of offense in that game. Unfortunately, that was like the second or third start for Zach. But he had a play where he hurdled a dude and then stiff-armed another guy in the air and shoved him to the ground. It's like the greatest highlight I've ever seen in college. I wish they had shown it on the draft stuff. Literally, hurdles one guy, left arm, stiff arms another guy to the ground, stands there for a second over him, and then gets back.
That's phenomenal. Well, so it's almost like a quick follow-up to that, but how good can Zach Wilson be? What is the ceiling for Zach Wilson? Again, I guess that's similar to a pro player comp that maybe he could be this if he's operating on all cylinders, but what is that for him?
I think it's really high. I think he could be a top 10 quarterback in the league, if not higher. I mean, he has the skill set and the mind to do it. And so it's going to be a matter of, okay, does it click at that level? Does the playbook mesh, which I think it will? BYU ran a pro style. Robert Saleh said yesterday, hey, we saw what they ran, and it's very similar to what we're going to run here. And Zach said, yeah, it totally works. And in fact, the whole Shanahan thing, so, like 2 months ago, before it was really like, okay, it's going to be the Jets or whatever, we said to Zach, like, what system fits you? And he's like, the Niners. Said the Niners. That's the only team he said. And I was like, well, the Jets are the fat-free Niners.
Yeah,
Mike LaFleur. He was the passing game coordinator. Like, that's the system, right? And so that's super exciting. Shanahan called his own plays. He's not going to call them this year, but like LaFleur was, Mike LaFleur. He should be just LaFleur.
I like that. I like just jumping right to that. Like I'm at McDonald's getting a McFleur. That's nice.
I'm getting him a McFleur. Oh, the machine's broken. Gosh dang it. I shouldn't have asked at 1 a.m. I knew it. But I think it's going to work.
Yeah.
I really do. Like, and it's just a matter of, okay, can Zach deliver, and can the pieces be good around him? I'm very sensitive to making sure that I'm going to declare, listen, if this doesn't work out, there is going to be some blame on Zach and not just the Jets. For BYU fans, it's like they had this PTSD with Jimmer Fredette.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, he never got a shot. I'm like, bull crap. In 5 seasons with like 4 different teams, he never got a shot.
Yeah.
Like I love Jimmer. I know him personally. That was on Jimmer. So Zach, I think, will be in a position where he's going to be good, and I hope that equals great success for the Jets, because I know they're trying to make it work. No one wants to fail.
Yeah.
No one wants to go, in the top 10 picks the next couple of years because you're not like inching towards the playoff or showing flashes of brilliance. Steve Young said that to us as well recently. We said, what does he need to do this first year to like tell you that this can work? He goes, they don't have to win per se, but there need to be some moments with Zach where you're like, wow. So I thought that's good because it's going to be hard to just say, okay, if they don't get 5 wins, it's not working. It's like, well, yeah, give it like 2 full years to be like, okay, are we closer to kind of 500 and is it happening? Like with Joe Burrow last year, obviously it gets hurt, but it was like, oh, they're stepping in the right direction with Joe, and then he gets hurt and they don't win a ton of games, but you could see those flashes. That's kind of what you hope for.
And you said when you watched last year's just games live and talking about them, that was like fun to watch. And everyone that I've talked to and me myself has had a lot of fun watching the tape. So I don't know what the answer to this question is. What does Zach Wilson have to work on? Because it just seemed like, what was it, 3 picks last year? One of them was like on a Hail Mary. So, I mean, there doesn't seem to be a lot to criticize there. So I don't know how Zach Wilson just goes, man, you're great. You're great. So, I mean, he has to have some level of discipline to like block that out and just try to work on whatever he has to work on. But what does he need to work on?
Another one of those 3 picks, the receiver stumbled out of his break as well.
Nice
so he had like one real, he should have had another one against UTSA.
It's funny how that works. There are some that could have happened the other way. Yeah.
There was a guy with like a literal club for UTSA, and he just couldn't catch the ball. Go watch that one. I was like, that should have been a pick. The speed at the NFL level obviously needs to be like, obviously the windows are going to be tighter. But he can make those throws. His last throw at BYU and in college is maybe his best one. Go back and watch the UCF game in the Boca Raton Bowl. I'm at the game on the field. He spits the ball in the receiver's, like literally in his hip. Just from, it's like a 38-yard throw, and it's just laser into the breadbasket of, it's not high, it's not here where the receiver has to make it, but it's still catchable. It's literally in his pocket. The DB is like all over the guy, and he just puts it in his pocket, catch, falls in the end zone, touchdown. The radio analyst for BYU, he interrupts the play-by-play, and he goes, wow. And that's the reaction we all had, because he made just stupid throws. He made this one against UTSA where his shoulders were, maybe you've seen this one. He's looking to the right side of the field, and a receiver is running a corner, and he turns his shoulders suddenly and zips it in hard. And I was like, that was amazing. And it's hard to know in the moment, like, oh, that was great. Because we look at Chris Sims is right. He goes, you don't even need to look at the stats per se or even winning. Like, those aren't necessarily products of great quarterback play, although those are nice. Sure. He's like, look at the actual throw. And when I knew that Zach Wilson was going somewhere was when a highlight went out of a drop by a receiver. This doesn't happen, right? You don't see like, oh, dude, did you see this throw? Oh, well, the guy dropped it. Who cares? No. It was like, did you see this throw from Zach Wilson? I think it was Louisiana Tech maybe. 2 guys converge. It feels like double coverage, but the ball is in a very catchable position and dropped by a redshirt freshman, Roy Williams' nephew, Keanu Hill.
Yeah.
And he drops it, but it was like, that throw was on the money. Like, that's not on Zach. So it started to be special where there were multiple throws a game where you're like, oh my gosh, okay, Louisiana Tech, Zach goes through his progressions and he throws into a zone where the safety is like 15 yards inset from the back of the end zone, and then there's a corner on the sideline, and he fits it into the back corner of the end zone, touchdown. And the receiver's body language, Gunnar Romney for BYU, was like, that was so easy. He just threw it in the right spot. But on film, that's not happening. I mean, those are some of the throws that really stick out where it's like, oh my gosh, North Alabama, like first drive, he chucks it 62 yards in the air or something. Troy, he threw the ball. That was a straight shot. He threw the ball on the right hash to the left sideline, like 58 yards or something. And it's just on a catch, touchdown. It was like, oh my gosh, like distance, windows, angles. Like he's not gonna force a 2nd and 15 into something, because if he can get 3rd and 12, like he can make that play. It's not like he knows when to live another day. He was a little reckless early on where I gotta make a play. I'm scrambling around. He became way more controlled and rhythmic to where, okay, and sometimes if he needs to run, he needs to run. Like he scored 10 rushing touchdowns this year. It wasn't like he was Well, sometimes he runs. No, he's a weapon if he needs to be. In like Russell Wilson-ish, in that Russell doesn't scramble to get yards, he scrambles to get first downs and to throw deep.
Yeah.
You know, if I had DK Metcalf, I would do something.
Yeah, wouldn't we all? Here's just a quick aside on something. When I've interviewed people, like, so we had Coach Roderick, he was on the show a couple weeks ago. I've talked to other people about Zach Wilson. When I talk to Zach Wilson, here are some of the words they've used: swag, confidence, arrogance, even is the word they use. How much of that is real? How much of that does he bring to the table? And is there anything wrong with having a little swag, confidence, arrogance at that position?
The biggest punk in BYU history up to this point has been Jim McMahon. Like but to me, he's the best quarterback in BYU history. That was part of what made him great was, listen, you're not going to stop me. Like, I work too hard. I study too much film. I am going to beat you. And that is born from preparation, right? Zach has that element to him. And he kind of looks like a punk. But the defenses think he's a punk because he's making plays. Like, it was just every game going into it this year, I was like, it is so nice to know we have the best player on the field. And we've got a shot to win. Like, the last time I really felt that was with Taysom Hill. With Taysom Hill, it's like, hey, he can at least keep us in this game at Wisconsin. 10-point loss. It's like, you know what? That's respectful. At Notre Dame, Taysom Hill never lost by more than 2 scores in college. Like, it was always a game. It was always, to me, like 3 scores, that's a blowout. 2 scores, you're in the game. You may get a play here, an onside kick, play there. Like, Zach had that. And again, he beat USC. He won at Tennessee. He went 11-1. You know, yes, there were no Power 5s on the schedule. That was not in BYU's control. BYU wanted to play 6. BYU was going to play at Minnesota, who was coming off a top 15 season, the Pac-12, of course. It was going to be fun, but I would say he's all of those things in a good way. Like, I don't need like, would you rather your guy look like and be like Zach Wilson or Mac Jones? Like, you know what I mean? Like, Mac Jones looks like, hey, if it doesn't work out, I can always work for my dad. Like, that's the look he gives. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's great. Well, here's the last one for me. And actually, I was going to end it similar to the way we ended the interview with Coach Roderick before, and just going through a bunch of criticisms of Zach Wilson. But quite frankly, you've addressed most of them throughout this interview, whether it's a cupcake schedule or whether it's a captain, no captain thing, which was a lot of fun. It's funny that when that first came out and, Todd McShay brought it up, potential red flag here, then the Jets reporter for ESPN, Rich Cimini, then said, may raise some question marks. It was funny. Coincidentally,
Bo Callahan.
Bo Callahan, the draft day thing. And it's funny that, like, I randomly scheduled the interview with Coach Roderick, and it came out like 5 minutes before we did the interview. And that's when it went viral. I'm like, so Coach, there's this report out there that he wasn't a captain. Thoughts? And then that clip goes viral because I share it on Twitter. It has like 20,000 views. He's like, that's nonsense, complete asinine. So we've addressed most of those. But one we haven't yet, which is just kind of interesting, is the quote-unquote durability concerns with one Zach Wilson. They brought up the shoulder. You brought up the labrum shoulder, which are perfectly fine now. That's great to hear. Plus labrums for Wilson. That's fantastic. So they've brought up the injuries, which they kind of seem somewhat random. There doesn't seem to be some sort of linear path there. And then secondly, the other part is the other concern that they've brought up is the I don't even know what the proper term is, frail shoulders. The shoulders don't look as broad or as wide as some of these other quarterbacks. Is there any concern there or thought or reaction to that criticism that people have brought up that, man, looks like he could get hurt at the next level? Because actually I was watching draft day, funny enough, I do that tradition every year, and they had those same criticisms and concerns about Joe Montana coming out. Oh boy, those shoulders may not be able to do it. And it's funny they mentioned that in the draft day movie. I just went, let me note that one.
Yeah, no, that's a legit question to ask. So the labrum tears, the one, it happened in high school. He actually played through his freshman year with a torn right labrum. So that one required surgery. He never got surgery on the left labrum tear. He just played through it, but it kind of self-healed. There are varying degrees of labrum tears. And those are, to me, just like, this happened. He hasn't had an issue in 2 years since, right? The broken thumb, that was him trying to make a tackle after an interception. So that was kind of effort-based, and it's like Zach, don't do that. Although Jake Heaps didn't go after a guy against Ole Miss in 2011, BYU fans have kind of held that against him for a while, where it's like, you're going to tackle him? He just walked by you. So that Zach was the opposite. He actually got hurt on that, broke his thumb. I don't feel like that's a thing. I understand why that would be brought up, but obviously at the NFL, yes, he's 6'2", 215. He's not 6'2", 225 or 230. Maybe he'll put on 10 pounds here. And he wanted to be at like 220. He's close to that. He's been working on that, but yeah, he tweaked his hammy a little bit when he in the pre-draft workout, so he never ended up running the 40. But honestly, I'm not overly concerned. If every Patrick Mahomes injury was out there from high school through college, I think we might be asking similar questions. But yeah, I'm not concerned. I do think it's a fair question to ask, though. Absolutely.
All right, there you go. Well, that's it. Jarom, I want to thank you so much for giving us the intel here on Zach Wilson, the newest quarterback, and hopefully the one that's here for the Jets for the next 10 to 15 years. That's what everyone is hoping here, and I'm sure that's what everyone is hoping down there in BYU as well.
Totally. Like, we're super excited now that it's official. Zach Wilson's a Jet, like Jets, Jets, let's go. Like, BYU fans are going to be paying attention to the Jets every week. I've got Sunday ticket to watch the Seahawks here in Utah, but I'm going to be watching Jets games every second too.
All right, we appreciate it. Thanks, Jarom.
You got it.